can stop us from going on our path toward the enlightenment. Now, nowadays, he doesn't want to show up. Why? All the defilements in our mind are, all the defilements in our mind act like a Mara. We are connected, or Mara has tied us through the defilements in our mind. That's why to liberate from the Mara and to liberate from all the sufferings, we should get rid of the defilements in our mind. First, we need to have a very strong desire to do it. Because sometimes the intention we have to practice the path toward the enlightenment is not enough. So that's why we should strengthen our motivations. We should strengthen our desire to attain the enlightenment, or to purify our mind, or to defeat the Mara by removing all the defilements in our minds. If we can do it, then we are free from the Mara. Otherwise, we live under the influence of Mara. That's why always we should be mindful of our negative thoughts. Or that's why always we should try to practice 4 foundations of mindfulness. So dear friends, dear devotees, I would like to talk about 5 defilements that weak our mind, that prevent us from realizing the 4 noble truths, that prevent us going on the path toward the enlightenment. Those 5 defilements are 5 hindrances, or pancha nivarana. 5 hindrances. Dear friends, one of the suttas, Buddha says, he gave a wonderful simile. He said, suppose there is a river. That river is flowing down from the top of a mountain, and it has a rapid, it flows down with a rapid current, and it travels a very long distance. So it means that river is very powerful, very strong. But one day, a man comes and open irrigation channels on both banks of the river. Then what happens? The water of the river start to spread out. Because of that, now river doesn't flow with a rapid current. It becomes slow, and it doesn't travel for a long distance, because now it doesn't have the power, it doesn't have the strength it had before. Buddha says, likewise, there are 5 defilements in our mind that weaken our mind. Those 5 defilements are 5 hindrances. So it means our mind is very strong, very powerful. It is the most powerful tool. But now it's weak. Why it's weak? Because of the 5 hindrances. The first hindrance, the sensual desire or desire for the sensual pleasures. Second one, anger, sleepiness, restlessness and remorse. The last one is the doubt. Kamachanda, Vyapada, Thinamidda, Uddhacha, Vichikicha. So because of these 5 hindrances, we can't think clearly. And those 5 hindrances cover our wisdom. Those 5 hindrances weaken our mind. Then Buddha says, again that man comes and he closed those irrigation channels that he opened. Then again the river gains the ability, the power it had before. So dear friends, dear devotees, if we get rid of the 5 hindrances, if we get rid of these 5 defilements, then again we can gather the energy in our mind. We can strengthen our mind. And we can remove the dark clouds that cover our wisdom. Then it helps us to realize the 4 noble truths and finally attain the enlightenment. Buddha says, the desire for the sensual pleasures, it is also conditional. Everything in this world is conditional, except the Nibbana. Even the Noble Eightfold Path is a conditional thing. So, desire for the sensual pleasures or sensual desire is conditional. Buddha says, due to 2 causes, desire for the sensual pleasures arises. The first one, the first cause, the mark of the beauty, or Subha Nimitta, mark of the beauty. The second one, Ayoniso Manasikara, unwise consideration or unwise attendant or unwise thinking. So due to these 2 things, desire for the sensual pleasures arises in our mind. Okay, let's talk about it a little bit further. In this world, there are forms, sounds, odors, taste, and tangibles or touches that are very pleasing, appealing, and arousing our desire. For example, think about a movie, Hollywood movie, or Bollywood movie. So when you watch a Bollywood movie, it's very appealing. It's pleasing, but it arouses your desires. your defilements. Now, suppose when you watch a Bollywood movie, you see a gorgeous actress. You see a gorgeous actress. Or when you walk on a street, you see a gorgeous actress. Then if you are not mindful on that moment, what happens? The marks of that actress stay in your mind. For example, you think, oh, she has a wonderful hair. So then that marks of the hair stay in your mind. Or you think, oh, she has a wonderful skin tone. Then those marks stay in your mind. So that is the mark of the beauty. Mark of the beauty. Then what happens? Then you think about it unwisely. Again and again, you think, oh, she had a wonderful hair. Her skin tone is beautiful. She was tall. So you think about all the things about her. So that is the unwise consideration. When we practice the unwise consideration, desire arises in our mind. So then, due to those two things, mark of the beauty and unwise consideration, the sensual desire or desire for the sensual pleasures arises in our mind. Then what should we do to get rid of it? So we should first understand the most powerful, the main cause of the desire for the sensual pleasures is the mark of beauty. That is the main cause. So then, to get rid of it, we should practice. The one thing we should practice, the Asubha Bhavana, or it means contemplating on impurities of the body. So you know how to practice Asubha Bhavana, contemplating on the impurities of the body. We can think about this body contains so many impure things. Head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, blood valves. So you can think about all the impurities in the body. So normally we only look at the beautiful side of the body. So as long as we look at the beautiful side of body, desires arise in our mind. But when we start to think about the ugly side of the body, then what happens? Then gradually we will be able to get rid of those desires that we have in our mind. Another thing we can practice is the impermanent meditation. We can practice impermanent meditation. For example, now we have those marks of the beauty in our mind. Why? Because we were exposed to those things in the past. Still, you can think about, or you can enjoy a movie that you watched 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 20 years ago. in your mind. So it means there are marks of those of the beauty in the mind. So when we practice impermanent meditation, we can think, okay, I had that pleasant feelings in the past. That pleasant feeling is over now. There's no point of thinking about it because that experience, I had that experience in the past, now it's over. And now there are some thoughts about that experience in my mind. Even these thoughts are subject to change. Those thoughts are not permanent. So in that way, we can practice, we can try to understand the impermanence of those things. Then it helps us to get rid of those desires that we have in our mind. So if, and also we can practice the impermanent meditation on our 6 senses or sense faculties. We can practice the impermanent meditation on 5 aggregates of clinging. And also we can contemplate on Paticca Samuppada. And also we can contemplate on 4 noble truths. So when we try to understand the true nature of our lives, gradually we will be able to get rid of those desires that we have. The next one, the next hindrance, the anger. So anger is another hindrance. In one of the sutta, Buddha says, in Sanghara Sutta, Buddha says, when our mind is overcome by anger, it's like a person goes to a water pot that contains boiling water. So there is a person, he wants to see his face. He doesn't have a mirror like we have now. But there is a water pot. Then he goes to that water pot. But that water in that water pot is boiling. So even though he tried to see his the reflection of his face, he cannot see it clearly. Buddha says, likewise, we cannot think clearly when our mind overcome by anger. And also at that moment, even our memory is very weak. And also when our mind is overcome by anger, we do all the bad things. Why? Because at that moment, we can't think clearly. So that's why it's really important to get rid of the anger. Buddha says anger also arises in our mind due to 2 things, 2 causes. The first one is the mark of repulsive, or we can say the mark of the harshness. Mark of the harshness. The next cause is the unwise consideration. Again, ayoniso manasikara, ayoniso manasikara. Okay, let's talk about how anger arises in our mind a little bit further. In desire for the sensual pleasures, beautiful things are connected, or the pleasant feelings are connected. But in anger, with anger, unpleasant feelings are connected. So in this world, there are forms, sounds, odors, taste, touches that we don't like, and even the thoughts that we don't like. Displeasing things. So when we encounter displeasing things, what happens? Unpleasant feelings arise. Unpleasant feelings arise. And then what happens? Those, again, the marks of those displeasing things stay in our mind. So normally we are repelled by displeasing things. At that moment, badly, we want to be separated from it. So that moment, we can call that moment as the Patigha Nimitta, or the marks that are saved in our mind of that moment is the Patigha Nimitta, or the mark of the harshness. Then after that, what we do, we think about it unwisely. We think, for example, if someone insults us, at that moment, unpleasant feelings arise. Then we think about, oh, that person insulted me. Or as Buddha said, we think, akkochima, avadima, that person abused me, defeated me, robbed me. So if we think in such a way, anger arises in our mind. And if anger has already arisen in our mind, then it's growing. So because of those two things, the mark of the harshness and ayoniso manasikara, unwise thinking, unwise consideration, anger arises in our minds. Then what should we do to get rid of it? Spreading unconditional love and compassion, or spreading unconditional loving kindness toward all beings in this world. If we fill our mind with love and compassion, if we fill our mind with loving kindness, then there is no space for the anger in our mind. So that is the best thing we can do to get rid of anger. And also, we can practice wise consideration. Again, we can, practicing impermanent meditation helps us to get rid of anger. Why? Because I think you must have learned Mahahattipadopama Sutta, Mahahattipadopama Sutta, the sutta of the simile of the great sutta of the simile of footprint, the elephant footprint, the Mahahattipadopama Sutta. So in that sutta, Arahant Sariputta Thero teaches us how to practice impermanent meditation when someone insults us, when someone speaks some bad words to us. So we can think, this ear is impermanent, the sound is impermanent, ear consciousness is impermanent, ear contact, the contact of the ear is impermanent. And the unpleasant feeling arose based on ear contact is impermanent. So when we reflect on the impermanence of that moment, then we can get rid of the anger. So instead of thinking about what happened at that moment in a negative way, we can think about we can reflect on the impermanence of that moment. Then it helps us to get rid of the anger. In that way, those things helps us to get rid of the anger. And also, the next one, the next hindrance, the sleepiness. Sleepiness, one thing, one of the reason of sleepiness is the lack of desire. that we have to practice the teachings of the Buddha. When you have a lack of desire to practice the teachings of the Buddha, then it leads us to the sleepiness. So that's why we can do everything without any problem, without any sleepiness. But when it's time for us to meditate, then sleepiness arises in our mind. Sometimes we start to nodding. So we need to develop our desire. We need to strengthen our desire to practice the teachings of the Buddha. And also laziness leads us to the sleepiness. And in one of the Sutta, Buddha teaches us this: the laziness starts with one thought. With the one thought. In that Sutta, Buddha says there is a lazy monk, and that monk has to go on a trip next day, okay? Or next day he has to travel to somewhere. Then today he thinks, or just one thought occurs in his mind, okay, tomorrow I have to travel. While I'm traveling, I will be very tired. So because of that, I should have some rest today. Then he lie down his body and then he sleeps. So it starts with a thought. But the energetic monk, the diligent monk thinks, okay, tomorrow I have to travel. When during my travel, I will not get chance to meditate or practice the teachings of the Buddha. So because of that, I should arouse my energy to meditate today, right now. So, both of things, laziness and diligence, arises with thoughts, how we think about it, how we think about the situation. And also there are a few other reasons for the sleepiness. Today we don't have enough time to talk about all of those things. In future, if we get a chance, we can talk about it. And also restlessness and remorse, the next hindrance. To get rid of the restlessness and remorse, the best thing we can do is practicing Anapana Sati meditation, breathing meditation. That is the best thing we can do. And whenever we have some remorseful thoughts, or whenever we have some regrets about things that we couldn't do in the past, or about things that we did in the past, then we should understand it's over. It happened in the past. Regretting about those things don't do any good for me. Supreme Buddha doesn't praise me if I regret. So I should leave it in the past and I should move forward. So it is another thing we can do. And the next one is the doubt. It is the hindrance, doubt. So sometimes we have some doubts about the teachings of the Buddha. We have doubts about the enlightenment of the Buddha. We have doubts about the future. We have doubts about the past. So there is one reason, one cause of the doubts. That cause is ayoniso manasikara, unwise consideration. To get rid of it, what should we do? We should learn the teachings of the Buddha again and again, and we should try to think according to it. We should try to reflect wisely on those teachings. We can practice, for example, we can recollect the qualities of the Buddha. It is a wise consideration. We can reflect on the impermanence of sense faculties. So even if we try to memorize a sutta, a teaching of the Buddha, it helps us to develop our wise consideration. Then it helps us to get rid of the doubts that we have about the teachings, about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So if we are able to get rid of those 5 hindrances, then our mind will become like a sky that doesn't have clouds. Then when sun rises in that sky, it illuminates everywhere. Likewise, when our mind is free with the clouds, when we listen, when we reflect on the Four Noble Truths, we can understand it, we can realize it by ourselves. Then we are on the path toward the enlightenment. Then we are on the path to defeat the Mara, the evil. So now, dear friends, it's time for us to have our Q&A session. So now, Bhante Buddhadatta Thero will lead the Q&A session.
Okay. So let us give our heartfelt anumodana by saying sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We are deeply grateful and very much rejoice with Venerable Amito Theru's the Dhamma talk today, and with a lot of compassion, with metta in his heart, he just poured this pure Dhamma, taking us to the journey from the enlightenment of Buddha's life, then all the struggles and hardships he's gone through, and how the Buddha reached the summit state of spiritual perfections, and how he defeated the Mara, and what exactly the Buddha practiced and developed his mind so that he could able to defeat the Mara and therefore attained the state of enlightenment. So this is the process of enlightenment, where we have to, as he mentioned about the later part about the 5 hindrances, you see, how it hinders, how it obstructs our spiritual growth, our progress on the path. So every day we are facing these hindrances. Every day we are facing these maras, the kilesas in our daily life. You have a choice to suffer. You have a choice to not to suffer. Problem is everybody don't want to suffer, but nobody want to act according to the Dhamma. You see, we have a path. There is a path, but nobody wants to travel on the path. The path is shown by the Supreme Buddha. Out of compassion, through wisdom, he penetrated into the realities. He penetrated the cause of sufferings, the cessation of suffering. But problem for us is that, as he mentioned about how the mind is beclouded by these, covered up by these defilements, these the kilesas, which are constantly polluting the mind, so that it loses its luminosity, it loses its clarity. So our purpose of human existence is to purify the mind, to develop the mind to the maximum level, to the perfection level, so that we can be free totally from dukkha, and we can have this taste of freedom. So Bhante has given you Dhammadana today to all of us. I hope you have understood during this week, the first day, he has rightly put it such a way that you have that understanding now. Now we will go for the Q&A session. We take few questions about this Nivarana, about this today's topic, the Supreme Buddha's victory over Mara. Anyone have any questions? You can either put it in the chat box or you can read out. देखो. Let me see, Venerable, what are the questions we have? Hmm. So far, no questions. Any question? Who is Mara? Somebody asked, who is Mara? This is a very fundamental question. Venerable, can you answer this? Who is Mara?
Yeah. So yeah, actually, even I had that question. Who is Mara? Until I start to learn the suttas. Okay, so we don't need to focus on that question too much. If we focus on that question, so sometimes we make some arguments about that. Sometimes because we have heard some people say, okay, there is no such person as Mara. Some people say, oh, there is a Mara. So according to the suttas, it's very clear there is a evil one who is Mara. But if we start to focus it too much, and if we have to make some arguments, some debates about it, then that one become our Mara. That debate, that argument, those things, okay? Because those things will prevent us from practicing the path toward the enlightenment. So the most important thing, we should understand the real Mara is those negative thoughts. And in one of the Sutta, Buddha says, one monk asks, where does Mara live? Then Buddha said, on your eye, on the ears, on the nose, on the tongue, on the body, on the mind. So it means if you are not mindful of those things, then we live under the influence of the Mara. But if you're mindful and if we restrain those senses, then we live under the influence of teachings of the Buddha. So that is the sanctuary. That is the sanctuary for us. So that's why we need to be mindful of our senses. And that's why we should develop we should develop 4 foundations of mindfulness. We should restrain our senses and we should get rid of the defilements in our mind. We don't need to go to any debates or arguments of those things. Then it would become an obstacle of our practice.
Thank you very much. You have put it so nicely. The Mara, the evil ones, is not outside. It is right there in our mind, in our hearts, you see. So we have all the hell and heaven in the heart. We have all these Kilesa Maras or the Khandha Maras, Machu Maras, you may name it in different way. But as you said, the Mara is right there in every moment, of our experience with the external, with the senses, which is come in contact with the external objects. At that moment, if you're not mindful or don't have that wise considerations, then we are subject to be attacked, influence of the evil Mara right there. And that which obstruct our practice, our Dhamma practice. So I hope the person has understood who asked this question. We have one more question. How do you differentiate between desire and greed? how do we differentiate between desire and greed?
Okay, I think it's a very good question. So desire, that is the fundamental, or that is the root cause of all the suffering, desire. So when we talk about desire, there are three aspects of desires. The first one is desire for the sensual pleasures, then desire for the existence, and desire for the non-existence. So even the greediness is based on those desires. So, but it's very it's on the surface. The greediness, it's on the surface, because without getting rid of the desire, greediness, we cannot attain the first stage of the enlightenment. We cannot realize the Four Noble Truths, because it is on the surface. It's like it's on the surface, because even after we get rid of the greediness, we have the desires. Still, we have the desires. We have desires. So greediness, we want to have something. So when we see something, then we want to have it badly. So that is the greediness. So for example, like when you see advertisement of the newest iPhone, then you have some desire to have that phone. When there is no, for some people, there is no limit for that. Then it becomes very unethical. That's why then they go and they steal. But still, even though someone don't steal iPhone, still they have that greedy mind. Or sometimes the things that we have the greediness toward it. So it's always want to have something that we don't have, or we have. So it is, however, it is on the surface. It's very visible. Like it's and also when there is some greedy, like we feel that pain in our body. So first we have to get rid of those layers of the defilements. So there is a wonderful sutta called the Vattupama Sutta, simile of the cloth. In that sutta, Buddha speaks about, as I remember, 16 main defilements, including greed, that we should get rid of to clear our mind in order to realize the Four Noble Truths. Okay, I think.
Okay, Bhante. Thank you, Venerable. Okay, we take up one more question. It's a pretty long question. It says, Namo Buddhaya, Bhante. One of the hindrances called doubt is in a specific context regarding the teachings of the Buddha and Dhamma. What about doubt regarding other aspects of life related to decision making? Sometimes we are doubtful even before undertaking acts of merit. Could you please tell how to overcome or address such doubts of the mind, which might prevent good acts as well?
So yeah, it's a wonderful question. It's a very important question. We can understand it in this way. Whatever doubt we have, all of the doubts share the same cause or the same reason. That is the unwise consideration, or ayoniso manasikara. So even in our normal life, we have some doubts. Those doubts based on unwise thinking, unwise consideration. Because we should we should not be naive. There are moments that we should analyze the moment. But most of the time what happens, we don't analyze the situation. Instead, we just become a victim of the doubt that we have in our mind. So, because all the time, doubts are unhealthy. Whatever doubt we have are unhealthy. It doesn't do good. It doesn't do any good for us. We should think, we should have the critical thinking, but we should not let doubts to overcome our mind. So that's why always we try to practice wise consideration. When our the practice of the wise consideration is so powerful, then we will be able to get rid of the doubts, even the doubts that we have in our normal life. So even in the normal life, without having doubts about the things in the life, we should analyze it. We should try to think about it. Before we come to a decision, we should reflect on it. We should analyze the situation. Then we can make the right decision. And also another thing, okay, this is the additional thing. Why sometimes we cannot make right decisions? Because our mind is overcome by one of the 4 defilements. The first one is the desire, and also the fear, and desha, dosa, the anger, the desire, anger, fear, and delusion or the ignorance. When our mind is overcome one of those defilements, then again we cannot think clearly. Then we make the wrong decisions. So we should understand the root cause of all the doubts. Then we should get rid of that root cause. So what is the root cause? Unwise thinking. So after we attain the stream entry level, so that is the moment that we can completely abandon all the doubts. If we attain the stream entry level, after understanding the impermanence of our life perfectly, or the 4 noble truths, then we can abandon all the doubts we have in our minds.
Okay, much gratitude to you, Venerable, for answering this question. Yes, that is the way. I think we have answered fairly all the questions, 3 questions we have answered. Anyone of having any questions, even from here? No, we have nuns also. We have our students and Upasaka.
Why jhana practice?
Okay, so there's a questions coming up from here, from our physical audience. It says that what is the role of jhana, the 5 factors of jhana, in combating, subduing the hindrances? As we have 5 nivaranas, we have also 5 jhana factors. Vitakka, vichara. Yes, vitakka, vichara, thina, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. So can you give us some advice, Venerable, on this?
Here's one thing. It is a very good question. So I can give a very quick answer. without abandoning 5 hindrances, we cannot attain the first jhana. So it's because after we liberate our mind from the 5 hindrances, then we can attain the first jhana. It arises with the when our mind is liberated from the 5 hindrances.
So it will be eliminated through stages, say vitaka and vichara. Once you remove vitaka vichara, then you go to the first stage. And then we have the piti. Piti will come in the second jhana. Piti, and then sukha, and then ekaggata. So when you reach to the 4th level, you have only the concentration, one-pointedness, and equanimity you have there. So
abandoned, eradicated in vipassana. It is only temporarily subduing.
In jhana factor, it's temporarily, yes. Only abandoning is possible through
Subduing.
yes. No. Samatha is subduing it, and vipassana is eradicating it. Yes. So we have to go through the next factor of practicing vipassana. That is the solution, the panacea for eradicating, uprooting all hindrances. Yes.
We have the Nirapahana, Vikamana, Samudripahana. When we are subduing the Samatha level with the jhana, it is called Vikamana. For some extent,
Subdued it.
There is no hindrances. When the jhana level is gone, again the hindrances weak.
Zoom out. Okay, so Venerable, then now, as you said, this defilement, these nivaranas, we have, like you can see, we have our audience here. Yeah, they're here, all of them here. They're watching you. So we got this way. So now we have to make a mind like a clear water, you see, without any color, without any pollutions, without even the muds. You know, sometimes we have this, the mind get diluted, polluted because of the muddy water. Sometimes it is colorful with the color, influence of the color, you see. Sometimes it's covered up with some external layers, maybe some plants, you know, watery plants which cover up, and then that boiling water example, you know. So therefore, we have all these factors which hinder us of structures. That's why it is called nivarana. Nivareti iti nivarana. So to achieve the jhana or samadhi, to up to level of aparna samadhi or khanika samadhi, upachara samadhi, up to some extent, you have to really work hard, diligently put forth their efforts and mindfulness to remove this influence of hindrances. And then we take this samatha as the foundation to move to the vipassana. There we realize the body, contemplating the body in the body, feelings in the feelings, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of mental factors and consciousness. Then you approve the deeper, latent, strong sense of I, or it's called the atta, or you have the sense of nitya, permanency, or the delusion of sufferings. You know, we can realize sufferings in true perspective, correct understanding. So that is the way to go step by step in the path of purification, and ultimately we see and realize the Dhamma in our life. So we have Professor Ramchandra sir here. Just give a word of thanks, and then we conclude the session.
Vandami Bante, it was an excellent, beautiful and wonderful Dhamma Desana today. And the normal learners and the beginners got to know the Mara aspects, the 5 hindrances. You have well put that the greatest achievement, the achievement for excellence is not landing on moon or landing on Mars. It is the greatest achievement is Samma Sambuddha, okay, getting enlightened. Okay, that is the greatest achievement and rediscovering the 4 noble truth. And you also well said, Bante, these 5 nivaranas, how these are as a mark of beauty or whatever can be overcome through these yoniso manasikara, wise attention of realities, anicca, dukkha and anatta. And it was an eye opener for all the beginners as well as the Dhamma learners who are here on a sustained and consistent basis are learning Dhamma. As you said, okay, this knowing reality will eliminate all vichikicha, etc., and attain the Sotapanna first SEAM entry. And it is a great opportunity to listen to you. And we like the Sri Lankan monks, whenever they come and chant here, the night-long chanting with a very mellifluous voice, chanting Dhamma in mellifluous voice. It is really great okay, opportunity to listen to those Parita chanting, night-long chanting. Therefore, we request once again, your Venerable Bante, you and along with other monks, come to Mahabodhi, Bengaluru, and chant this Parita chanting. Today, it is a great opportunity. And I thank Venerable Buddhadatta Banteji, the director, dynamic director of Mahabodhi Research Center. And day before yesterday also, Venerable Buddhadatta Bante attended Delhi Buddhist conference, where he met all 30 countries monks of all over the world. They have come, and we want at Mahabodhi Center to be globalized. Now it is localized, and it should get to local taste and flavor. The undercurrent is Dhamma, Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Therefore, we request you to connect to all countries and all Theravada Buddhist monks, so that let us grow in a Dhamma way together. And sadhu sadhu for the opportunity.
Indeed, so your presence, Venerable, is really a great blessing for us. You took a time out of your schedule. He has a session today in the Mahamevnava Buddha Monastery in California. He conducts this retreat every weekly. Is this right, Venerable?
Today, I have a one-day retreat, day-long retreat. Yeah.
So it's called Dhamma Woods, right? Your place.
Dhamma Wood.
Yes. Lovely. So on behalf of, as Sir has said, Ramchan Sir, he's the main dean and the Buddhist scholar, and backbone of research here, research wing, and with him we are doing together work. And we are deeply blessed with your presence, Venerable. And I look forward to have Sangha members from Mahamevna monasteries. And in Sri Lanka, we had Subodhi Bhante also quite long back for the inauguration of this 3 months course. Bhante came and gave a nice message. So in future, we'll have more such talks and discussions with you, with your brother monks in US or in anywhere, so that we can have, unitedly we will work, collectively we work, and take this Dhamma will forward. You see, the Sasana forward, especially India needs the Dhamma more, I feel, at this moment.
Yeah.
Because India has given this the whole world, but we want to revive, and the tree has become a little weak, and the rooted darkness under the light. So therefore, we have to rekindle and rejuvenate, bring back this glorious Dhamma to this land of India for the happiness, for the well-being and welfare of all the Indian people and for all sentient beings. So thank you so much, Bhante.
And Bhante, may I say a few words?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So first of all, But thank you very much for having me in this wonderful Dhamma program. And I would like to share all the merit, good karma I collected throughout my life, especially with you, Venerable Buddhadatta Thero. So by the power of all the good karma I collected, with the blessings of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, may you have a long life, strength, and happiness, and especially may you be able to have a wonderful Mahabodhi Research Center that help millions of people in this world to find their path toward the enlightenment, find their path on the Buddha's teachings. And also, I hope very soon to see a branch of Mahabodhi Research Center in United States. And hopefully I will be able to participate in person when you open your branch in here in the United States of America. And also may you be able to realize the Four Noble Truths and attain bliss of happiness, Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu.
And also by the power of all the good karma I collected we all of us collected with the blessings of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, may all the venerable monks in Mahabodhi Research Center and Mahabodhi organization, and all the devotees and all the learners, may you all have a long life, strength, and happiness. May you be successful in your Buddhist practice, and may you all be able to realize the Four Noble Truths and attain bliss of happiness, Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So we conclude with the blessings. Buddha Bhavatu Sabba Mangala. Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakhantu Sabba Devata Sabba Buddhanubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te. Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakhantu Sabba Devata Sabba Dhammanubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te. Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakhantu Sabba Devata Sabba Sanghanubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te. Abhivadana Silesa Nichang Buddha Pachayino Chataro Dhamma Vadanti Ayuvanno Sukhang Valang Ayu Arogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Iminate Samejjatuti. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So my dear Dhamma friend, Venerable Amita Devata Thero, may you also live long with good health, happiness, strength, and peace of mind. May you keep growing on the path of Dhamma. May the Triple Gem bless you with very best in your life and the work you're doing. May you be successful in the Dhamma work. Please convey our best regards, our homage to Guru Bhante, Subodhi Bhante, and all the venerable monks at your monastery, and also the branch monastery of Mahamev Nava. Give our greetings to all of them. We hope to see you again online or in person very soon. So have a nice day to you and have a wonderful meditation retreat.